What's happening, good people? Welcome to the channel. I'm Wes, aka Mr. Budget Watch, and today we're going to be reviewing this watch from Gavox. Now it turns out I've actually been pronouncing this wrong all along, and it's actually Gavox, not Gavo like I was pronouncing it, so apologies for that. So this was kindly provided by Michael, the owner of Gavo, to review. It does have to go back to him, so that's why you've not seen the paid promotion icon up in the corner. So anyway, what I'm going to do in this review is give you my full opinions, full everything on it that you need to know about this watch. So let's get started. So this one is listed as a 36mm, but I actually measured it between 10 and 4 at around 35.5. So it's a very, very compact watch. So looking at the lug to lug, it's actually like 41.5mm and 7.9mm thick. So it's really, really compact, making it ideal for, guys and girls that like this style of watch. With very, very slim wrists. So if you've got thicker wrists, this one might not be for you, unfortunately. We also have an 18mm lug width, which is actually perfect for this watch. I think 20mm would have been far too big for this compact and small diameter. So we have a full polished 316L case. We have a little push-pull crown, sapphire crystal, 50 meters of water resistance, which is not bad. Not bad. I think 100 would have been much more appreciated, but 50, is still pretty decent. We also have a 24-month warranty, which is pretty nice, and it's also 1600 AM anti-magnetism, so it's an anti-magnetic watch as well, which I think is really quite impressive for the price point. Let's take a look at this, and usually we start off with a bezel, but as you can see, this watch, well, is bezel-less. It looks like actually the case and bezel is all one. Usually you like to see a seam, where the bezel meets the case, but it looks like it's all one actual, one unit, which is really cool. And then you've just got the separate case back. The lugs are really nicely integrated as well, but yes, there is pretty much no bezel to speak of. It's just all case, and I think that really helps keep this watch nice and compact. So looking at the dial, you can see we've got a very, very subtle sunburst dial that shifts from like a really charcoaly dark grey to a more pale grey. Around the border, we've got a train track style minute track with these little loom dots all the way around, and then we've got these really unusual shaped I'm going to call them sort of like batons at every 15, and then coming in again, you can see we've got some printed numerals, and then we've got the little arrow at the 12 o'clock. And then apart from obviously at the 6 o'clock, we don't have any numerals because we have a small seconds complication. Looking a little bit closer at that dial, you can see we've got the Gavo branding, and of course that really nice small seconds with a radial finish to it. I'll also like to mention that these little dots and indices, batons, are loom filled, as are the hands. So the hands are very unusual as well. They are loom filled white, as you can tell, so it really contrasts nicely against that black dial. But the style, I'm going to say we've got like a fence post sword-ish style hand there, and then the smaller hand. Again, it's more like a sword, but it's I wouldn't call it a gladiator style, but it's like a slimmer gladiator. If you've seen a gladiator style hand, they're quite broad, but this one is a similar shape, but it's not as broad. So maybe a mini gladiator style. I'm not really sure. So let's take a look at that side profile. Can see we've got not much really, it's all high polish, and then we've just got a very, very small signed polished crown. Again, we've got those nice integrated lugs that have got a nice downturn to them, but everything on this watch is high polish. You guys know that high polish is not my preferred finish because it marks easier, it tarnishes easier, it gets scratches easier, and it's a nightmare to keep clean. But I think it does actually suit the watch quite well. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of brushing thrown in somewhere, but all in all, it's nice. But I do really like this style of this watch. It's not what I'd call modern. It's got like a little bit of a vintage flourish to it, and I really do quite like it. So really a big fan of the design of this one, and I love its compact size as well, which again sort of throws into that sort of more vintage-esque look of this watch. Spinning it round to the back, you can see we have a radial brush pattern, all your specifications around the outer perimeter. We have the Gavox branding, Spitfire, and then a little engraved Spitfire plane on the case back. Very, very nicely done. It is only a pop-off case back though, so it's not screwed down, which is probably why it only has 50 meters of water resistance. These are definitely not my preferred case back, but you know, they get the job done. They keep the movement protected. But yeah, again, it's not my preferred style. I do prefer a good screw down case back. So that is, you know, the design and everything out of the way. Build quality, you know, really good. The watch is nice and lightweight. Obviously, with it being on a strap, it's not a heavy watch. It's very, very light, very compact, making it ideal, you know, for us with slim wrists. And I think even slimmer than mine, this would be a really nice fit as well. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So moving on to this strap, and we have a sort of faux crocky style one. And you know what, it's decent. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. So first up is the adjustment holes, and you know, there's quite a few of them. Looking at the stitching, pretty nice and clean. We've got a nice taper to this strap as well. It's not the most drastic of tapers, but it does have a nice taper down to the end right there. Flipping it to the inside, you can see 18mm, quick release spring bars just right there. Always appreciate a good quick release system. Makes swapping out straps really easy. Again, you know, decent quality stitching on the inside. Nicely clean cut holes. You can see where I have mine just there. So there's actually one adjustment hole left. But again, if you've got slimmer wrist, then you're probably going to need to swap out the strap. Looking at the inside of this one, you can see we have the Gavox branding, 18mm, quick release. We've got one floating leather keeper, one fixed. Buckle is, you know, is pretty cookie cutter, high polish and branded. Stainless steel, not drilled at the side, all high polish. A little bit cookie cutter, but I think it suits the style of the watch perfectly fine. So the strap quality is something I'm a little bit not impressed with, I'm going to be honest. I think the actual leather quality is a little bit stiff and a bit rigid. Now I've been wearing this for over a week and it's still not breaking in properly. Usually like good quality leather will break in, it'll get softer, it'll get more supple. This one is just not, unfortunately. It's quite stiff, it's quite rigid still. So I'm thinking this one is going to take a lot longer to break in than, you know, 1 week that I have with this watch, unfortunately. So I'm going to say this is probably going to take a couple of months to really soften up and get supple. But yeah, the quality of it is all right. It's just, like I said, it's not the most flexible, a little bit hard feeling. So yeah, not the best quality strap. So I would recommend probably looking at an aftermarket one. But yeah. Looks pretty nice though. I really do like the aesthetic on this strap. It's a very, very nice looking strap and it really suits the watch well. It's just not the best quality strap. So what I'm going to do is obviously pop this on wrist now and, you know, we're going to show you what it wears like. Alright guys, so here it is on my 6-inch wrist, and you know what? It fits like a glove. It is so nice and refreshing to have a small watch, and it fits really nicely. For some reason, you know, at the minute it's wearing a little bit high, but if you just, you know, bring it down a little bit, then it wears really nicely. I have noticed that it does that quite often though. The watch will actually sort of ride up towards the top of my wrist and it'll just sort of sit like that instead of, you know, perfectly in the middle. I think it's all down to the strap. And like I said, just how sort of rigid it is, and it just pulls it a little bit. I would advise definitely swapping out that strap though. If I'm being really honest, it definitely needs putting on another strap. I mean, it's comfortable on this one. The form factor of the case is really nice, but it's just the strap that really lets it down. So let's just look at that profile. You can see, you know, really nice and slim, and you can just see how the watch tends to sort of slip up to that side and it doesn't sort of sit perfectly in the center of your wrist. I don't know whether that's just my experience, but it's a little bit irritating actually. Looking at that strap, you can see, you know, we're on the second to last adjustment hole. We do get a little bit of a gap, but on the next adjustment hole, it is too tight. So yeah, it definitely needs another strap in my opinion. But you know, the case shape and everything, the profile, the lugs, how they taper down onto your wrist, all really nice. It's just that strap that lets it down. Is it uncomfortable? No, it is comfortable. It's just a little bit irritating that the watch sort of rides up and ends up going towards the top of your wrist. So yeah, comfortable, yeah, a little bit irritating to wear, yeah. So now let's talk in use, and this is a very, very simple, straightforward quartz watch. So you just give the crown one pull out and you adjust your time, and that is pretty much it. We've got a little bit of dust there, and that's it. It's just one stage, really nice to wind. The crown is a little bit on the small side, decent amount of grip though, so it's quite easy to manipulate. No crown guards as well, meaning there's nothing you know, impeding your use. But yeah, it's a really nice and smooth movement. The crown and stem feels really nice. It's just a little bit on the small side. But then again, it is a small watch, and I think a big crown would have looked really out of place. But you can see just how smooth that winding is. And it is a very, very pleasurable watch to use. So yeah, no problems whatsoever. Very, very easy. Just about as easy as a watch, you know, can get. One stage, no ghost date position at all. So yeah, really easy and straightforward to use. Now let's talk about that loom. So we've mentioned already that we've got loom on the dial, loomed hands, and the loom is okay. It's a bit of a mixed bag. We have really strong loom on the hands, but then the indices and markers just let it down a little bit. So the hands get really bright and bold, and they're really quite vibrant. But the indices are just, the application, you can tell, is just a little bit thin. So it doesn't quite have the loom power, you know, that some other watches of this style have. A little bit of a shame, I think, you know, just with a little bit more generous application on the dial, it would have been so much better. Because at the minute, you know, it's reasonably legible, but it could be improved in my opinion. So let's talk about that movement quickly, and this is using a Seiko VD75. 3-year battery, negative to plus 20 seconds per month, and it's 0 joules, and you get, like I said, up to 3 years battery life. So yeah, no complaints with the movement whatsoever. You've just seen how smooth in action it is. It's a very, very nice, solid feeling movement, and it's a Seiko, so it's going to be very, very reliable. Really affordable to swap out the batteries to every 3 or so years. So yeah, no complaints in the movement department at all. It's going to be robust, it's going to be reliable, and it is a good quality movement in this watch. So now we get on, you know, to the final verdict and the price of this watch. So this watch retails for £179, and I'm going to be really honest, I don't think it's worth it. I mean, yes, I do like a lot of things about this watch. I love the aesthetic, I love the vintage and compact proportions of it. Very, very wearable size for me, and obviously you guys and girls with slimmer wrists. So yeah, very, very nice and compact, really nice aesthetic. The case finish is not my preferred, but I do like the shape of it, I like the profile of it, I like the design of it, but it's just, I think it's a little bit too expensive. I think the loom lets it down slightly, as does this strap, unfortunately. But you know, there's plenty of aftermarket straps out there for this size lug width, so that's not a deal breaker. I think this watch could be doing with being a little bit more affordable though. Yes, I mean, it's got a good quality Seiko movement in it, 316L sapphire, anti-magnetic, so it's got a lot of good features, but I can't help thinking it is quite a bit too much money for this. I'm going to say around £145 to £150 would be a much better price for this watch, because I think £179 is just a little bit too much. So let me know what you think of this little Gavox Spitfire down in the comments. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads. And of course, follow me on social media at Mr. Budget Watch. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.